and I didn't answer her right away when she said it. We were in the kitchen, the light too bright for how late it was, her phone face down like it was sleeping, and she said it lightly, almost generously. "My gym trainer makes me feel so alive," she said. Then, smiling, as if offering advice, "You could learn something from him," and I nodded. I even smiled back, not because it didn't hurt, but because I suddenly understood where I stood. It wasn't the possibility of infidelity that settled in my chest, and it was the certainty that comparison had already replaced intimacy. You don't compare what you still value. That night I didn't ask questions. I didn't check her phone, and I didn't replay old arguments looking for clues. I paid attention instead. Silence has a way of sharpening the edges of things. Over the next weeks, and patterns appeared without effort. Extra sessions. Shoes by the door that weren't hers weren't mine. The trainer's name said casually, too often, and, like a word rehearsed to sound normal. I watched without reacting. I learned without confronting. There's a temptation, when you know, to rush toward exposure and to reclaim dignity by force. I felt it, that itch. But I also knew something else: secrecy survives emotion. It feeds on scenes, on denials, on private negotiations, and, if accountability was going to happen, it couldn't come from me begging for honesty. It had to come from somewhere neither of them controlled. The idea formed slowly and almost boring in its simplicity. No trap, no fake messages, no humiliation, just context delivered to the wrong place. I ordered the basket on a Tuesday afternoon, and nothing extravagant. Wine, protein snacks, a handwritten card. The kind of thing a polite client might send. The note said only, "And thank you for all the private sessions at our home. They've made a real difference." No names, no accusations. Just truth, arranged carefully enough to speak for itself, and I addressed it to the gym. I didn't imagine what would happen next. I didn't need to. Once something leaves your hands, it belongs to the world. 2 days later, and my phone started vibrating while I was in a meeting. I ignored it until the fourth call, then stepped into the hallway. It was a mutual acquaintance, breathless, and words tripping over each other. "Something happened at the gym. You need to hear this from me." The trainer's wife had opened the basket at the front desk, and she was known there, sometimes waited for him after sessions, friendly with the staff. The note wasn't loud. It didn't accuse, but it landed where it could be read without interpretation. People stared. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else tried to take the card away. She didn't scream at first, and she asked questions. Calm ones. Precise ones. The kind that require answers the trainer denied, reflexively, poorly. What followed wasn't cinematic, no slow motion, and no clever one-liners. Just the sound of something breaking that had already been cracked for a long time. A slap that turned into more than one. Staff intervening, and management calling security. Someone calling the police, not for drama, but because policy demanded it once things turned physical. And authority arrived in the most unromantic way possible: uniforms, clipboards, procedures. The gym closed early, statements were taken, and memberships were suspended pending investigation. The trainer was escorted out, bleeding from his lip, and his phone confiscated as part of a complaint that suddenly included evidence. By evening, it was no longer a rumor. It was an incident. My wife came home late, and later than usual. She didn't mention the gym. She didn't mention him. She sat at the edge of the bed like someone waiting for a diagnosis. "And I heard something happened," she said finally. I nodded. So did I. Waited for anger, for questions, for relief that she could finally explain. None came. "And what did you do?" she asked. "I sent a thank you basket," I said. "Nothing more." She stared at me, trying to decide if that counted as cruelty, and trying to decide if she could be angry without sounding ridiculous. There was nothing for her to argue with. No insults, no threats, just a fact, and the next days unfolded without me. The trainer's wife filed a formal complaint. The gym terminated his contract, citing misconduct and misuse of facilities, and a police report sat quietly in the background, not dramatic enough for charges, serious enough to ruin reputations. And my wife was questioned by management when her membership was frozen. She cried there, I was told, not for me, for herself, for being seen. At home, and we spoke like colleagues closing a project. Logistics, appointments, what to tell friends, what not to say. She tried once to frame it as a mistake, as loneliness, and as something we could work through if I wanted to. I listened. Then I said calmly, secrecy was the relationship, not him. That ended the discussion, and there was no victory lap, No satisfaction blooming in my chest. Just a quiet rebalancing, like furniture being moved out of a room that had been too crowded to breathe, and she moved into the guest room. Then, eventually, out. Not dramatically. Suitcases, a shared calendar erased. Sometimes I think about the basket, about how small it was, and how ordinary. It didn't expose anything that wasn't already happening. It didn't add pain, it removed cover. People assume accountability has to look like rage or revenge, and they're wrong. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. Sometimes it looks like witnesses. Sometimes it looks like a truth delivered without commentary, and allowed to land where authority can no longer ignore it. I didn't reclaim her. I reclaimed myself. And that, quietly, was enough.